Welcome to the Ringer NFL Draft Show. My name is Danny Heifetz. I am joined by Danny, Kelly Bensuluk, and Craig Horlbeck. We are going through what every team in the NFC needs in the NFL Draft this year. Before we dive in, remember, we're doing a live show, baby, 2 weeks out in Detroit. Woo! If you're going to be in Detroit for the NFL Draft, or you're just near Detroit, I mean, if you drive to see the Eclipse, come drive to see us. Tickets in the episode description with the link. Craig doesn't like when I read the URL or when.
Come witness the totality of the Ringer NFL Draft Show.
Yeah, what were you guys talking about? Oblivion?
Pat, we'll get to that at the end,
right? Okay.
We were wrong about the Eclipse. Everyone says it's really cool. We were wrong. We'll get to that.
Okay. I would like to be known that I was on the side of it being cool.
I also was pro natural phenomenon, if you remember.
Me too.
Rolling back into the Eclipse.
We'll discuss at the end. I love natural phenomena. All right. And email us ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com. We can just dive right in here, honestly. We're going to go division by division, and we're going to start with the teams we're favored to win, and we'll go to the teams that are favored to come in last. And we're just going to go through it, just see what each team needs in the draft, and we'll fix the teams, and some teams are unfixable. But yeah, Craig, lead us off here. Just take us on a little tour of the NFC.
All right, we're going to start with the NFC East, and we are going to start with the Dallas Cowboys. They have the 24th, if I could speak, overall pick in the draft. Their over-under win total projection for 2024 is 10.5 wins. So just to look back a little bit at what the Cowboys have done. So the Cowboys have won 12 games in each of the last 3 years. No other team has done that in the NFL. They have the second best record in the NFL in the last 3 years behind the Kansas City Chiefs.
Really?
And yet, if you look back at those 3 years, the last 3 years, the other top 7 teams by record have either made it to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl, or have gone to a conference championship. I'm cheating a little bit because the Bills conference championship was 4 years ago, but still. Dallas has made it out of the wild card round once in the last 3 years, not to mention the fact that their 3 best players, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons, are all nearing the end of their contracts, meaning that come next year, they could be probably employing the most expensive quarterback, wide receiver, and linebacker in the NFL. Hi, Fitz. Break out that Jerry Jones legal pad. What do the Cowboys need?
Oh, yeah. Wait, here. I actually have a legal pad.
What do your scribbles say?
Incredible. Here, I'll just start scribbling while I go here. No, I mean, dude, I think Jerry's losing it, man. As if the 4 pages of just
finally
was, maybe that's not a hot take anymore.
It took 148 years. He's finally losing it.
You didn't even mention that each of the last 3 Cowboys exits have been more embarrassing than the last. But, dude, Dallas, they lost so many things. Dan Quinn took half the defensive line rotation to Washington and then also took the center, whose name I can never pronounce, Tyler Biadasz. Tyron Smith, the left tackle. Biadasz. I was never going to guess that one. I don't know. Whatever.
It's not easy. Yeah.
Whatever. Tyron Smith left to the Jets. Tony Pollard left to the Titans. And you look at this team, and the running backs the Cowboys might have, right after the season started today, Cowboys have Rico Dowdle at running back, who's never started a game.
Hell yeah.
Vaughn is 5'6". They have CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks at receiver, but the third receiver starting would be Jalen Tolbert, who's basically been a special teamer. Their center for next season right now would be a special teamer last year. Their left guard for next season would be a special teamer right now. The theme is a third of the Cowboys offense is going to be what? Special teamers? And then, all right, they need a running back in the draft. It's not a good running back class. They need a left tackle in the draft unless they want to move Tyler Smith there. They're going to get what? The 8th offensive tackle in the first round. And that doesn't even go into whether Dak Prescott could just leave in free agency next year. So honestly, the team's kind of a mess.
Well, when you put it that way, it's kind of tough. I keep putting, when I do my mock drafts, I keep putting receiver to the Cowboys just because, like you mentioned, I mean, Jalen Tolbert, I think, has been a guy that people have or think has a lot of promise, but he just hasn't really done anything yet. Brandon Cooks is not getting any younger. And then past that, Martavis Bryant is on the Cowboys right now, which is a thing that's real.
Is that right?
Yes. Dude,
I mean,
I literally didn't know that.
Yeah. He came out of retirement last year and was on the practice squad or whatever. So
he hasn't caught a pass since 2018, Martavis Bryant.
But they got nobody. They got nobody after essentially CeeDee and Brandon Cooks. That is established. And I think, especially with an offense that is probably going to be pretty pass heavy going forward, right? Because or at least I think so, based on the fact that they didn't re-sign Pollard. They don't really have an answer at running back right now. To me, that is wow, they're just going to go into the season with CeeDee and Brandon Cooks.
That's not the worst thing in the world. CeeDee Lamb's obviously a great one. I think Brandon Cooks is a solid too. They're bad for depth. I like them for offensive line more just because you lose Tyron Smith and Tyler Biadasz in the same offseason. Zach Martin ain't getting any younger. Right tackle's been a rotation for them. Which they feel better than they have in the past, but still you got to add bodies right now to that group. And you can add them on the interior or at tackle, because Tyler Smith, who you drafted to be a left tackle out of Tulsa 2 years ago, has played excellent left guard for the last couple of years. So you can kind of let the board fall to you. I like them for the line.
I'm holding out hope Deuce Vaughn is like going to get 100+ touches this year.
Yeah, for the vibes.
Yeah, just because he's tiny and it's fun.
All right, speaking of vibes, Philadelphia Eagles.
Go Birds.
22nd pick in the draft this year. Win total 10.5. Second best odds to win the NFC East. Kind of a weird vibe to end the year. Jason Kelsey's gone. Heifetz. What do the Eagles need? Ben.
First,
what do the Eagles need?
Oh, wow. I like how you tossed it to him just to take it away from him. That was
pump fake me like a golden retriever with the ball.
He went flying past me. I hit Ben on the cut to the hoop.
They went running. Like corner, I think is the spot in which they have the biggest needs. They have a lot of dice rolls at the spot. They took Keely Ringo in the 4th round last year. They have Eli Ricks, who was a UDFA for them, who like they're interested in. Do you guys remember the Colts corner who got suspended for betting on games?
Is he on the Eagles?
On the Eagles now? Isaiah Rogers, yeah.
Oh yeah,
they're excited about him. Yeah,
nice.
And so like they have a bunch of like dice rolls at outside corner. But it's like Darius Slay is old, James Bradbury is old, not playing super well. Like they very clearly need to add talent there. And so I think corner is the biggest position of need. The question becomes, is Howie Roseman willing to spend a first round pick on corner? Because we have not seen him do that. And he's tended to just go for veteran players and for veteran stopgaps at the position. I think that's more been circumstance than anything else. I think he would be willing to. Does the guy fall to them? Do they like the guy? How do they have a grade or whatever? Because they have needs elsewhere. They can add to the offensive line, where obviously you have the retirement of Jason Kelsey. They're projected to have 2 new starters at center and at right guard between Cam Jurgens and Tyler Steen. They need a right tackle, heir apparent to Lane Johnson, who's getting up there. So like that's potential. They had the Hassan Reddick trade. They always are adding edge rushers. They could go there. They could go a lot of different ways. But I do think corner is the biggest position of need on the roster.
I agree with you about corner select. I also think the Eagles are in perfect position to screw over the Dallas, because we're talking about Dallas. If Brian Thomas was there for Dallas, that'd be incredible for the Cowboys. And I keep thinking about the Eagles as this perfect team who can trade back with like the Bills, who could like basically trade that pick. Eagles could move back to somewhere late in the first round and still get a cornerback anyway. That just seems like a classic Eagles thing. But Craig, Solak, you do a lot of great work on the Eagles in the Philly pod, but I don't know if anyone nailed the Eagles season like Craig did last year, when he said that the Eagles starting 10-1 and finishing 1-6 was like a Super Bowl hangover, where you wake up and you think you're not hungover, but you're actually still drunk, and the hangover sets in at 1 p.m. and it's the worst hangover ever.
Yeah, you're like, I feel great. One. Let's keep the gravy train rolling. And
it's 4
true. PM. And you're
Saquon,
like
Saquon's just trying to like get drunk to like, it's like hair of the dog. Just like, I hope that this goes away.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've had many times waking up in high school, Sunday morning, feel great. Maybe think about driving home, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't.
In high school? You're a rebel.
Look, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Not that long.
I was a different man.
I'm actually not. I'm kind of the same man. Okay. New York Giants here. 6th overall pick in the draft. Win total over under 6.5. Third best odds to win the NFC East next year. I can't believe Daniel Jones is still on this team. Really. I can't believe this is year 6 of Daniel Jones. It feels like they broke up. It's like when a couple breaks up, but they like have to finish out their
living
lease
together. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, we got 9 more months on the lease. So like, I think once he got hurt last year and it was the whole DeVito thing, I kind of like moved on mentally from Daniel Jones. And I was like, it's done. This is year 3 of Daboll and Shane. And I was like, I can't believe this guy's going to be starting for the team next year. Maybe he won't. Heifetz, you tell me.
The lease is the perfect. That's exactly what it is. It's like they were still on the lease, but we're going to break up at the end of that. And honestly, the Giants, the whole season is like that meme of like me reaping, and it's like, yeah, this is
he's
awesome.
sowing me reaping,
and then me sowing. He's like, oh no, this sucks. It's like the Giants. They beat the Cardinals, they beat the Patriots, and they beat Washington twice. Now all those teams are picking ahead of them and can get quarterbacks.
I remember during the season last year, Heifetz, you were just loving it too. You were all in. You're like, it's so much fun. I can't turn it off.
So good.
I love winning.
So good. We're going to live forever. Tonight will never end.
Never going to die.
Fuck.
And so now the Giants like, damn, probably could have used one of those top 3 picks. That would have been cool.
Tanking. Good thing.
I totally forgot about the DeVito thing, Craig. Thank you for the reminder of that. That was quite a whole thing. That was
DeVito.
He had a moment.
So yeah, the Giants, they just have to get a receiver now. I don't think they should trade it for quarterbacks. You get Malik Neighbors at LSU, you get Roman Dunze at Washington. I won't even entertain getting Marvin Harrison Jr. It will get me too excited. Even they got a tackle, it'd be fine.
I would love to see it though.
I literally haven't thought about it for 5 seconds. That's the first time I've even put it out into the world.
Sure.
Because if I would be too happy, it would be too exciting. But the Giants, they need a receiver and they need a tackle. They need everything that's in that spot.
Heifetz, right now, if you could snap your fingers and JJ McCarthy is available at 6 for the Giants, would you want that?
No, I don't think he's big enough upgrade over Daniel Jones. It's just also. What would you guys say if the Giants took McCarthy? You guys would make fun of me, like, oh, you play Jones McCarthy. Like I see that from a mile away.
We'd make fun of JJ's better.
I think JJ's better than Daniel Jones.
How much better?
Not meaningfully, but enough where I'd be like, it's better. That's exciting, isn't it?
He doesn't have multiple neck injuries, so there's that.
That's the thing with Daniel Jones is it's like, you know what? Has he been totally mediocre in most games he's ever played? Yeah.
Yes.
But hey, what about the 2 neck injuries plus the ACL tear? Yeah.
Is there any question that he's not going to be a starter after this year in the NFL?
So
we all know he's going to be a backup, right?
Honestly, they're going to Russell Wilson. You know how Russell Wilson got benched because the Broncos were afraid if he got hurt, they would have to pay him even more money. But Russell Wilson never gets hurt. Daniel Jones has a huge injury guarantee, but he gets hurt all the time. So the Giants are going to play him to begin the year, but they can cut him. But if he gets hurt, it's a problem. So I think the Giants probably bench him I think that's what the Drew Lock thing was about. They underreported Drew Lock's compensation. Never seen that before. I think that's because they're going to play. They told Drew Lock they'd play him in the second half of the season, and they were like, "Shut the fuck up about it, though." Drew.
Did you, Heifetz? I don't know if I have asked you about this. So did you see? And this is maybe just GMs playing the media or whatever. But John Schneider, Seahawks GM, when he was talking about, I think it was the Sam Howell trade. I can't remember the exact timeline, but he basically let it slip that the Giants had told Drew Lock that he was going to have a chance to compete to be the starter, and then Drew Lock downplayed it when the New York media asked him about it. They're like, no, Daniel Jones is the starter. But like it was, I think John Schneider kind of let it slip that the Giants told Drew Lock he could maybe be the starter.
They're gonna wait. They're for the time they're gonna bench Daniel Jones and they're gonna play him and they're gonna cut him next year. And yeah,
nice.
But Malik Neighbors will be there, baby. At least we're not Washington.
Speaking of Washington,
good motto. Yeah,
I don't know who'd rather be. I guess you'd rather be the Giants. Okay, Washington, 2nd overall pick in the draft. They also have 2 early second round picks. Their over-under win total is 6.5, just like the Giants. And they have the same odds to win the division, 9-1. Heifetz, Dan Quinn's there, Cliff Kingsbury, offensive coordinator. What do the Commanders need?
I mean, obviously they need a quarterback and a star. Like I think it's weird that, Solak, DK, you guys have made the comp that Jaden Daniels is probably the closest thing we've seen since Robert Griffin III. And it's weird that Washington just has the 2nd pick in the draft for both those years. And I think it's Jaden Daniels still. I don't know if you guys like it. I know you guys both would pick Drake May if you were running it, but what do you think actually happens right now, Jaden Daniels, Drake May? Because I think it's Jaden Daniels.
I think it's Jaden Daniels. I cannot stress enough how willing I am to change my opinion. I think that not in like the sense of like,
hey Ben, I think it's Drake May,
and it could, and it is, and I'm happy about that. And here we go. But no, that is to say that like all of the Jaden Daniels stuff that I have is like from reading the same ESPN articles and the same tweets everybody else is. Like I've had nothing like in my own talking to people or like, the history of Adam Peters. Like, it's just like, oh, people think it's Daniels. So it is. So like if we get some like, big sportsbook movement towards Drake May or some good reporting towards JJ McCarthy, like I will take that seriously. Like the Commanders, man, they've done a really good job of keeping it tight in first year in the building, keeping it inside the room. Like there are not a lot of leaks right now as to who they like it too. Kudos to them.
The one thing I have heard that is interesting at the very least is that on Adam Schefter's podcast, he was basically saying, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was like, the NFL doesn't really want us to tip picks or give away picks, but yeah, we can go ahead and kind of assume this is going to be Jaden Daniels. Like when Adam Schefter is saying something like that, you kind of assume he's not just throwing stuff against the wall.
100%, DK. He's held news. He held the Aaron Rodgers stuff till draft day,
right?
Because Woj and the NBA has this like war with the NBA and ESPN where he like won't say the pick. He'll just say like the Grizzlies are intrigued by John Morant because he's not like Schefter plays nicer.
Now that being said, Schefter was very famously completely wrong about the Mac Jones versus Trey Lance thing. So there's a track record there of Adam Schefter getting this big thing very wrong. That said, he is probably the most connected person in reporting. And so I don't know. I lean Jane Daniels right now. I think there's a thought that it could be a smokescreen, but yeah, I think it's Jaden Daniels right now. If I had to
Everything
choose.
else about Washington is just they're the fantasy football guy in the league who hasn't watched football in 5 years and just takes the best players from 2018 because they have Marcus Mariota at quarterback, they have Austin Eckler at running back, they signed Zach Ertz at tight end, Bobby Wagner at linebacker, and it's just
Bobby.
like that.
Forgot
Just
about that.
an unbelievable murderer's row from 2018 of all pros there.
Yeah.
That's culture they're bringing in. Leadership.
These young guys. Who are the young guys? We don't know. We're gonna go get them.
We're drafting them. That's yeah.
Yeah, they signed enough free agents, so they don't need anything, but they actually need everything. Like everything. It's a very old team.
All right, let's go to the NFC South. Let's start with Atlanta. They have the 8th overall pick. Over under win total next year is 9.5. They are the favorites to win the NFC South, which is not saying much. Hi, Fitz. What does Achilles Kirk need?
Dude, Kirk doesn't need anything. I don't think any team in the NFL has invested more in offense than the Falcons. Like Kirk Cousins, $45 million a year. Darnell Mooney got like $12 million a year. They have a first round running back.
Gross.
Yeah,
Gross.
Dude.
Very gross.
DK never gave up on Darnell.
No, Solak hates
Kept
him.
the candle burning.
Every
for him.
time I learn about another mid receiver that you guys have talked yourself into, I'm just a little bit more. I'm like, gross.
DK's
fantasy.
favorite players: Marquise Brown,
Nope.
Josh Palmer, Darnell Mooney.
Oh yeah, by the
Nope.
way, I listened to last episode, Ben. The Josh Palmer it will not stand. Go look at his box score. You were wrong. He puts up very average numbers. It's not all over the place.
Oh, my bad. I forgot about his very average numbers.
Yeah,
That's
he
on
puts
me.
up, like a 4 catch for 58-yard weekend every weekend.
DK.
So he's solid.
What's your answer to
Oh, okay.
Do
You
you
put
like
that all
him 'cause
together,
I
you got
hate him?
yourself a stew
You
going.
got still go. By the way, most of these are bits. Let's be honest. Most of them are bits.
Yeah.
But
and
still.
just things to make me mad.
Yeah.
But the
What were you gonna say?
Falcons,
Yeah.
they have a first round running back, Bijan Robinson, first round tight end Kyle Pitts, a first round receiver Drake London. They have 3 first rounders on their offensive line.
And all
and a
those are like
second
top
rounder.
10 picks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I look at the Falcons and I'm like, I think this is the most invested offense literally in the entire league. Plus $45 million for Kirk Cousins. Meanwhile, Falcons are dead last in sacks in the last 3 years. Also like the last 10 years. Like the whole Falcons collapse, like Falcons blow lead.
Whose dog is that?
Whose dog is like
Nugget.
howling at the moon? Is there a mailman?
Nugget.
Trying to
Night.
gauge Ben's reaction. He was just like, there's
That was-
a people dying inside. There's like
I don't know. I'm gonna do the thing. I'm gonna do the Hypest thing. Please send me emails. Please send email rigorfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Over the last 2 or 3 months, Nugget has decided to go from being a dog that just doesn't bark at windows to sitting at windows and barking 24/7. She's 5 years old. I have no idea what is she upset at me? Is she mad at me? Like I don't know what's going on. But she, people walk on our sidewalk and she goes ballistic. And she hates strollers, which is a problem for me. So I'm
She
in a bad
hates
spot with Nugget
strollers.
right now.
I was gonna say my guess was gonna be like maybe she can sense that you're gonna have a baby soon and the protection instincts are kicking in.
That's actually
I have no
yeah.
idea. But she doesn't do any going up to Mare and acting all different around her and stuff. Like people say, oh, your dog will know. Like Nugget has no evidence of her knowing besides becoming the biggest a-hole in the world. Excuse me. At the couch. It's so frustrating.
That was like a cartoon howl.
Yeah, it was. Packs of wild
Right,
dogs
and
controlling most
I
of
watched the
America's
person
cities.
walk on the street. I just watched them get past her house. She's dead silent. I guarantee you she's asleep on the couch. Just stay there.
Dogs. My dog goes ape shit whenever anyone walks by too. So
Also, if there was one team that could be interrupted by multiple interruptions, is it any team could be funnier than the Falcons? We just never finish it. Whatever's going on with them,
Should we just move on?
they can't finish games.
edge. They need edge.
Yeah, they
players.
get a pass rusher. They can't
Yeah.
finish games because they have no pass rush. So
Yeah.
go get a pass rush.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The conversation between edge and corner for them is very interesting to me because I agree that they need edge and it's a bigger need than corner. I personally like the corner class way more in the top 10 than the edge class, A. And B, they do need corner. They have no outside starter opposite AJ Terrell, and he only has 1 year left on his deal. And so they're a very interesting spot right now where if they are good at knowing other teams' needs and playing the board well, they can trade back from 8, get really good return, and potentially draft the guy they would have just stayed there and taken anyway. Big day for Terry Fontenot.
The Falcons are a real IQ test on trading back because the Falcons could very easily trade back and get the first defender off the board anyway. And
Right.
I also think they could take Byron Murphy from Texas, defensive tackle. But all right, next up here.
The Bucs, 26th overall pick, win total projection 7.5. They have the second best odds to win the division like they did last year. Heifetz, are the Bucs like actually in no man's land, but they're kind of camouflaged as a returning division champ that should just run it back when in reality there's really not a lot there and they won 9 games?
Running back the division, dude, the Bucs are still running back the Super Bowl team with Tom Brady. Like they still have 5 defenders from that team that started the game. They have like Mike Evans and they re-signed Godwin. Like they have Wirfs. Like they still have the Super Bowl team.
Levante David.
Whose phone is? Who has a landline?
Gosh,
What
we
is
are
that?
not. We are. All right, we're
How
having a tough
old
one
are
today,
you?
fellas.
You are the
Are you
only.
in a FedEx? What is this?
FedEx.
So
Where are you recording from?
I'm
Who
recording
put-
from a house, okay? Not an apartment, a house owned by
Craig.
people in their 60s who have a landline.
Yeah, answer the phone. Go
Who's
answer
calling?
the phone,
I'm
Craig.
I
It's-
seriously
it
want to
is
know who's calling.
99.9% chance it's a telemarketer. Okay?
Pick it up. Put him on the. Let's talk to the telemarketer.
It's already gone. It stopped ringing.
Yo,
There hasn't been a real human being on the other line of that phone in 5 years.
That noise, the noise that phone made, like brought me back to the early-
Email
I know,
us.
that was a very old sound.
Email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com if you also like your parents have a landline, but they only get calls now from telemarketers.
We're like an old school radio show, like that has sound drops, except they're actually just happening in real time. We have the dog howl, we have the phone ring. I'm curious to see what's next.
I'm
They come
serious
in
though, like
threes.
the phone noise that you just had, it's almost like PTSD for me of like waiting in line at some bullshit like store. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh God, I hate waiting in line so much. And that noise is just playing in the background constantly. Every time I hear a beeping noise, like a really high pitched beeping noise, I take myself back to waiting in line at McDonald's. Have you guys ever experienced this?
Oh,
Do you know what I'm talking about? I feel like
Yes.
some of the ghosts are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Whenever you're like, it's like Pavlov's dog. Whenever I hear a beeping noise, my mouth starts watering because I'm like, ooh, I want McDonald's.
give me that McGriddle.
Yeah. Anyway, we can continue.
That's what were we talking about,
And next time you go into McDonald's, just constant beeping.
dude?
Just a cacophony of beeping noises.
Yeah, email us about that too. Oh, the Bucs. The Bucs, they can't run the ball. They're dead last in rushing yards last year. They were dead last in rushing yards the year before. And not just like total, like also dead last in yards per attempt this year. And also the year before. Like the Bucs cannot run. They have Tristan Wirfs at left tackle, and then Cody Mock, the Shrek looking guy.
Mhm.
But they need to run the
Wow,
ball. Whatever
tough
you got
for
to
Cody
do.
Mock.
He looks like Shrek?
I mean, he looks like
He's missing some teeth.
Yeah.
ogre-esque.
Dude, ogre-esque is a tough.
Is that
Cody's
mean?
a nice man. All
Is
right.
that mean? It's a compliment. Shrek is
Ogre-esque?
we love Shrek.
You're saying that on microphone?
He looks like the Hamish guy from Braveheart.
yeah,
Like
that's probably
big red.
nicer.
He looks like he'd be an extra in Braveheart.
It's a lineman. All linemen are kind of ogre-y.
To be honest, was Shrek
Ogre-y.
missing teeth? In my head, Shrek had a full set of chompers.
Shrek actually got like the Aaron
Chomp.
Judge.
Shrek's got a full head of teeth.
I think
Shrek's got the
Shrek's-
Rex Ryan teeth.
I think Shrek's got 32 pearly white ones in
Yeah.
my imagination, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, Shrek's got veneers.
Shrek's got full teeth.
Yeah, Shrek had teeth. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah,
Well, once again, a great moment for Ringer NFL Draft Show out of context, where I'm just positive one of the 4 images is going to be a picture of Shrek smiling.
I wouldn't say his teeth are great. Like he has
Shrek?
the teeth.
Well,
Don't-
you know,
I wouldn't say that they're great teeth. I'm just looking at a picture of him right now.
I believe there is a scene where he brushes his teeth in the original movie, but I
Yeah,
could
and
be
there's like
Oh my
weird,
God.
gross stuff coming out of it.
wrong. Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I know
it's-
he pulls the earwax
got-
out and makes a candle out of it. Shrek is a good movie. The animation hasn't really held up. It's a great soundtrack.
Did you know? I had no idea that Prince of Egypt was like the big movie they were making at DreamWorks at the time, and it was like this was supposed to be the A1. And the punish if anyone like acted out or wasn't being a good employee, they were like Shrek was the threat. They were like, we'll send you to Shrek. You'll have to work on that. And DreamWorks, and then Prince of Egypt was fine, and the Shrek is like one of the highest grossing properties that's ever been made.
And they originally started filming the movie or making the movie with Chris Farley as the voice of Shrek, and then he passed
Yeah.
away, and then they had to move to Mike Myers.
And then
Oh,
Mike
no way.
Myers did the whole thing. And then at the end of it, he's like, that would have been way better if I did like a Scottish accent. And then he did the whole thing again.
No way.
Donkey.
Man,
Yeah.
there's a lot more known Shrek lore in this podcast than I anticipated.
I didn't know that.
Nobody
That's a
was Googling anything there. That was off the dome with Shrek.
Dude,
Shrek
yeah.
Facts is replacing Kenny Pickett Facts. I love it.
that they're just cooking. What else we got about Shrek?
What position is Shrek? For sure, O-line?
Guard.
Oh, yeah.
Does he have the arm length?
Is he
He's
guard?
like Graham Barton. He'd be a guard or a center.
It's a guard center.
cut-
Yeah.
What about nose tackle?
I can see that. Yeah.
All right. Google's got Shrek at 8 feet tall, weighing 450 pounds.
He's Vita Vea. Get him in the middle.
I'm not getting an exact arm length measurement here.
When you're 8 feet tall, the arm length is like.
I am now on a Tumblr post titled "I might have found a discrepancy in the Shrek universe," and it's using the relative size of Shrek as well as like that giant gingerbread man to like figure out if like everybody's actually proportionate to the size they should be. There's calculations in here, man.
Get Shrek on Victor Wembanyama.
He's got really long arms. They go down to like his kneecaps. So
who's Shrek?
He is built to be an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman.
Wow.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see if DK mocks him where he goes in DK's mock.
Cody mock. Full circle.
It all comes back. Okay, moving on. The New Orleans Saints. 14th overall pick. 7.5 is their win total. Third best odds to win the division. Heifetz, I cannot stress this enough. Nobody cares about the Saints.
Well, you should, because the Saints are like a Ponzi scheme that's winding down. They're like the final 40 minutes of Goodfellas. Like, it's just like they had this good thing going, but like the jig is up and it's not going to end well.
What is the Ponzi scheme in Goodfellas? The mafia? Just the entire mafia?
Well, I guess that's not a Ponzi. Yeah, I don't know. Just like they had like they had a good thing going. Wolf of Wall Street, whatever. Like they were just like lying about money. And the Saints as a team, I do think are like a money laundering, or I probably shouldn't say that and get sued, but like I don't know what they're doing. But they honestly do. I'm not kidding. The offensive line is going to bring them down because they are locked into every player. Every player's contract's like a credit card they've maxed out, and they're out of people. And so now they're stuck with Trevor Penning. Left tackle is a disaster. Probably one of the worst picks other than Kenny Pickett in 2022. And then right tackle Ryan Ramczyk's been great, but he has like this tough knee issue and his career's in jeopardy. Andres Pete's been their other reliable lineman, and he's going to be gone. He's a free agent. So the Saints have a terrible line with Derek Carr, who very famously does not take pressure well, does not take hits. And so the only thing more annoying to the receivers than Derek Carr is going to be Derek Carr throwing away every pass when he can't block. So the Saints have to go get a lineman, or the whole thing, they're going to jail.
They're going to jail.
Hey, you be nice to Derek Carr. Somebody said something mean to him on Instagram Live, and he got upset with them.
Derek Carr is my least favorite athlete that hasn't done a crime.
Great take. Top one take.
That hasn't committed a crime.
Yeah, it's like we need a different category. Just like it's not like you did anything. It's just who you are.
Who would you rather hang out with, Derek Carr or Russell Wilson?
Russell Wilson by 100 because...
Well, no, none of his entourage can be there.
I'm just still fascinated by him as a person. Derek Carr would be boring. Russell Wilson would be so weird.
Yeah, Russ has story. Like Russ has probably like spoken to Future.
I have a sick curiosity in like who Russ is as a person. I have no interest in Derek Carr.
Sick curiosity, a morbid fascination.
Russ, yeah, he's from Richmond. I went to school there, and so we talked about like lasagna places in Richmond, and I was like, wow, I feel like you would never admit you ate cheese or whatever. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, the Saints.
Did we finish there on New Orleans?
Carr, yeah. What do we give them?
The Saints. Do you know the Saints are locked? Like the Giants can get rid of Daniel Jones. The Saints are locked into $70 million for Derek Carr for the next 2 years. Cannot get rid of him.
Heck yeah.
You know, are the Saints? So that, like I said, they have the what pick was it? 14th pick in the draft. The Saints outside of Chris Olave have Rashid Shaheed, Cedric Wilson, and A.T. Perry. Do we think that they're a reasonable wide receiver team here at 14?
I do think they could be a receiver team. Yes.
I mean, this team quietly has no offensive. I mean, they have an aging Alvin Kamara, and that's kind of, and Chris Olave, obviously, and then that's it. They have Juwan Johnson at tight end. There's not a lot going on. Taysom Hill. This team is old or inexperienced. Nothing in the middle on the offensive side of the ball.
I'll be slack-jawed stunned if they don't take a tackle, unless like 4 tackles.
Agreed.
They're in trenches. Yeah. They're typically like a build from the trenches draft team, I think.
The other position that I would say is they did talk about Marshawn Lattimore trades this year. And so I do think that like more corners is possible, but they've been drafting day 2 and day 3 corners really successfully, or excuse me, just day 2 corners over the last couple of years. And so I do think that they're a tackle team for sure. The Ramczyk health thing is just terrifying. The Trevor Penning early returns are abysmal. Like you can't just be walking into next year and just have multiple tackle spots missing starters like that. It's a recipe for disaster.
All right, let's finish up here with Carolina. They have no first rounders. They traded that to Chicago in the Bryce Young deal. They have the first pick of the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th. However, 5.5 is their win total. They're 10-1 to win their division. Their new head coach is Dave Canales, who is he the quarterback whisperer? He revitalized Geno Smith. He revitalized Baker Mayfield. Can he make Bryce Young good? They need offensive line help, preferably short offensive linemen. Heifetz, what do the Panthers need?
Well, first, at some point, we're going to have the Dave Canales conversation, but that'll be later this summer. But there's a whole lot
Could
to
not
unpack
employ Shrek at guard. Dude's all.
No.
It'd be a big problem.
Shrek, I mean, they gave Robert Hunt $60 million. Shrek should have got what's Shrek can ask for, you know what I mean?
Max
But no,
deal,
the Panthers, they're in the 5 stages of grief because they took Bryce Young over CJ Stroud, and then they also, in that trade, gave away Caleb Williams.
Just brutal.
Which would you every time I say
turn
it,
of events here.
they gave away CJ Stroud and Caleb Williams to take Bryce Young. So step 1 is denial, which is blame Frank Reich and fire him earlier than any coach in 40 years. Step 2 is anger. Throw your drink at a Jaguars fan who's, mad at yelling at David Tepper. Now the Panthers are in stage 3, which is bargaining, which is give $100 million guaranteed to Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis to play guard. And now they're going to have
bad bargaining right there.
And then draft receivers. Like, I really think they're in the bargaining, like, we can fix this offense, but they traded for Deontay Johnson, who's smaller, gets open quick. And I think that they, in the draft second round, they get big bodies and like build the offense from scratch. And then that won't work. Depression, get another big pick next year. And then stage 5 acceptance is draft another quarterback 2026.
Tough. I do like Heifetz, you have here on the Ringers draft guide, Ladd McConkey as one of your friendly suggestions for the Panthers. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I like that one a lot. Another guy that can kind of just get open quickly, give Bryce Young an option early on, so he can get the ball out quickly, start to get into rhythm. I think a guy like McConkey fits really well because he's the type of receiver where you can start to rebuild like the confidence, rebuild like I said, get him into a rhythm, get him going that way.
Can anyone name
Ladd McConkey, Deontay Johnson, and Adam Thielen? Every pass going for 13 yards.
Yeah, it's going to be
every single rep going for 9 to 13 yards. That's the world that we're living in.
Can anybody name the starting tight end for the Panthers?
Yes, Tremble. Tommy Tremble.
So
that's a thing.
Please
leave that
former Notre Dame guy, right?
Thomas Tremble was my father. Call me Tommy.
Call me
Tremble.
Tommy.
All right, let's move to the NFC North. Start with the Lions here. The Lions have the 29th overall pick in the draft. Their win total is set at 10.5. They have the best odds to win the NFC North. Heifetz, where are we at with the knee biters?
First off, if you're a Lions fan, remember, live show in Detroit, baby.
Yeah.
Tickets in the episode description. Come see us.
Come see us.
But yeah, the Lions, they need defense. Like, they lost the champion. They blew a 17-point halftime lead, but they're a Super Bowl contender now. Every Super Bowl contender needs cornerbacks and pass rushers. And the Lions added some, they lost some, but they still need more. Like, they lost Cam Sutton and they lost CJ Gardner-Johnson. They traded for Carlton Davis. They still need a quarterback. They added Marcus Davenport, but the Lions still need pass rushers. And I just think maybe defensive tackle, but that's what they need, a defense. And then offense, they have literally everything kind of like set, except they just need an outside receiver. Josh Reynolds went to Denver I don't know why he'd want to work for Sean Payton, but he went to Denver. And the Lions just need like that big body on the outside because they have like one guy over 6'1" at receiver.
Well, they got Jameson Williams, I think, is in theory going to be the guy.
Hey, Donovan Peoples-Jones, 6'5".
Yeah,
they are kind of big on Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I love
it's
him.
funny because like Josh Reynolds did one thing for them, and it was run the dig. And the one route that Jared Goff wants to throw more than any is the dig. And right now they got no receivers who can run the dig. Gotta get if it's Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's something of a very important role. Like, they need this route.
The dig, for everyone knows, if you grew up playing flag, it's like an in. It's just like a nice 90-degree angle.
I feel like he could do that. This is another one of the mid receivers that we like for no apparent reason.
I love him. DPJ guy.
I don't understand how it has. I love Donovan Peoples-Jones, and he literally was like, he couldn't get playing time on the Browns, who had nobody.
Yeah.
Can I ask? He had like a decent amount of yards a couple of years ago, didn't he?
How do you guys land on your guys?
Fantasy
we can fix
football.
Him. Yeah,
the fantasy waiver wire is.
You look at players who are bad, and you're like, but what if they were good?
If somebody wins you a week after a waiver wire pickup, they are kind of like you adopted them for years.
Yeah.
He had 840 yards 2 years ago. That's like pretty good. That's not fucking bad. 840 yards. Sorry.
How many total career games does Donovan Peoples-Jones have of at least 100 receiving yards? Any guesses?
1.
That's an arbitrary number. I object.
He has 2. He's even better than you guys thought.
Double
bubble.
And stock up for DPJ. Traded for a 6th
I
round
rescind
pick.
my objection.
I'm a little worried about the
Lions.
Lions.
Good player. Good little player.
Lions are fun.
I'm also a little worried about the Lions. Heifetz. They feel like they need to add a star talent, right? They need like a legit lockdown.
I want them
like
corner, and I also kind of want them to get Latu. I kind of want him.
right,
to
or like I was gonna say, like a legit like outside edge rusher
that would
as
be
well.
fun.
And right now, when you pick a late 20s, you're gonna get like maybe a guy who's helpful in year one and develops into something. They kind of need a big splash, and so Lions are on my list as a trade up team. Man, when we start getting into the teens, they did this with Jameson Williams, and kind of nobody knew it was coming. As the guy who had the loins tweet, I had no idea that the loins were going to do this. So I would not be surprised if they're another aggressive trade up team once we start to get into the teens.
All right, perhaps a reason why everybody's a little bit nervous about the Lions this year is because of the Green Bay Packers, who have the 25th overall pick, 9.5 is their win total, second best odds, 2-1 odds to win the NFC North. This is everyone's favorite team. This is their darling heading into this year. Everyone's going to be picking all the hipsters, Packers, Texans, Super Bowl, pencil it in now. Heifetz, do the Packers need anything?
They don't need anything this year. They're good at developing stuff, and I think that
Stuff.
Well, develop players, I guess.
Right.
I think they need a tackle. They have 9 offensive linemen on the roster. 8 of their linemen are free agents either after this season or next. So they have basically no long-term plan on offensive line. And I think that a tackle makes sense. But again, they might be the 8th or 9th team to take one, so they could do a developmental guy. But then on defense, it's like they need linebacker and safety, and it's not a great year for those things. But even then, they still signing Xavier McKinney in free agency. So the Packers are just, frankly, like once again, like the most well-run organization and maybe the only one with adults in the room.
They're just like the guy who just like stays home and like, I'll just cook at home. I'm not going to order in. I'll just cook at home.
Yeah.
You know that Josh Jacobs, I saw this stat. Josh Jacobs is the only Packers offensive starter that isn't a Packers draft pick from the last 5 years.
Draft and develop.
Yeah, that's
remarkable.
That's like your friend do you guys have a friend who's like, if you just save $27 a day, that's $10,000 every year. Like that's Green
right.
Bay.
If you just brew your coffee at home.
Yeah.
$3,000.
They're the millennial who brews coffee at home, and then they have a house.
I have a comment about this. I like to go to a coffee shop. I like to purchase a latte. I just spend too much money on it. It's not good. I bought myself an espresso machine. I get nice beans. I've been working on learning how to make the lattes. I make tasty lattes. I still can't do the art,
the design on the top. Yeah.
Yeah. But they taste good. Every morning I wake up, I make myself a latte. By 3 p.m., I'm out of the coffee shop again. It's like this has not removed the problem for me whatsoever. I like doing that, and I also like now doing this new thing, and then I just do both of them.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yep. And I also consume too much caffeine.
Impossible. Just kidding. I don't drink coffee. All right, moving on. Chicago. First overall pick. I don't know if you guys knew that. They also have the 9th. They have no second rounders. Their over-under is 8.5. Which I got to say, it has to be one of the highest over-unders for a team that coming off the first overall pick. Plus 370 to win the division. Like even that, like they're 3-4 to 1 odds to win the division coming in with a rookie quarterback. Heifetz, what do you think they should do at 9 here? Lineman, Roma Dunze. What else do the Bears need?
The simplest way to put it is Caleb Williams, I think, is the closest thing we've seen to Aaron Rodgers. And I mean, we literally saw Aaron Rodgers own the Bears. He literally said, I own you to the Bears. And if we're all comping Roma Dunze to Devontae Adams, I'm like, just Roma Dunze, Caleb Williams, get Chicago its own Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams thing. Like, I can't think of something more cathartic than for Bears fans to see something like that, like finally having one of their own. Because the Bears have never had a good quarterback ever.
God.
By
I'm
the
not
same
kidding.
token, think about how damaging it would be to be promised that, and then both Caleb and Rome are bad.
Lucy with the
It
football.
would destroy Metropolitan Chicago. While like Jordan Love's throwing to Dontavian Wicks. No problem. Here we go.
The
So,
Panthers
that's a
would be
good
like,
point.
thank you for doing that.
We're like underrating how the stakes of this draft for Chicago. The Bears are like 100 years old. They've never had a good quarterback. I'm not being exaggerated. Like Jay Cutler was 500 as a starter. Jim Harbaugh was better on the Colts than he was for the Bears. Like he went to the Colts. They gave him comeback player of the year. He didn't even get hurt. He just was on the Bears. He got comeback.
Rex Grossman's Super Bowl erasure.
Please. Jim McMahon won the 85 Super Bowl. Jim McMahon said Chicago's where quarterbacks go to die. Like that's a quote from the best Bears quarterback in Bears history. The Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer. The franchise record for passing is 3,800 yards. Caleb Williams can so easily set the single season passing record for the Bears as a rookie. But also to Sulek's point, if he's good, Caleb will be the biggest Chicago athlete since Michael Jordan. If Caleb's bad, I think people will stop being Bears fans.
It's funny to me that like the most embarrassing teams in the NFL right now are like the New York Giants, the Chicago Bears, like these big, great, like historic cities. I don't know. The Jets, New York Jets, and the New York Giants. What's going on with that? And then we got the Green Bay Packers over here.
And until this season,
Kansas
it was also
City
like
Chiefs.
The Kansas City
Dominating
Chiefs
in Eastern Missouri.
Buffalo, Cincinnati. Like, that's what people are like NFL rigged. I'm like, okay, they sent Trevor Lawrence to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you think this thing's rigged instead of the Jets?
Right.
Okay, they're really bad at it then.
It really has been a great run for like the non, A-tier cities in sports.
We said this before last season. Like, I last season was the bizarro season because we're talking about Cincinnati and Buffalo Super Bowl contenders. The Jaguars are supposed to be really good, and yeah, it's like it. All these teams that we grew up with are terrible.
Which city's fan base are we about to get 19 mentions from? Because we were like, oh, you think Jacksonville's not a major city? Like, yeah.
Largest city in
Sorry,
America
my bad.
largest city in America by geography.
Is what?
Jacksonville by
Really?
square mileage. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How
Florida.
big is it?
I
It's
don't
bigger
fucking
than
know.
LA.
Well,
There's
it
no
depends
way.
how you count because LA, it's like
LA is massive.
Yeah.
LA is massive, but Jacksonville is large. But also what you think of as LA is like
I'm doing
different cities.
I'm doing largest United States cities by area, and the
It's
top
LA, I think.
four. The top four are all in Alaska, which is cheating. So like, oh, this is all the city. All this over. This is the city. No, that shouldn't count. I need a better list than this Wikipedia list.
Fred's cabin out there. That counts.
LA is
as
I will
500 square miles.
after,
Jacksonville's
after
840.
the four.
Oh wow.
After the four Alaskan cities of Sitka, Juneau, Wrangell, and Anchorage, there's a fifth city, Tribune, Kansas, and then the sixth one is Jacksonville. So of cities I deem real by my objective measures, Jacksonville is number one.
Really? That's bizarre.
What the hell's going on in Tribune, Kansas?
They got room, baby. That's spreading out.
I've never even heard of Wrangell, Alaska.
Dude, Alaska, it's like you're seeing the maps of Alaska on America, and it's just like larger than Texas by a lot.
Not even close. They're the last state that would ever get a professional sports team, right?
Yeah,
Well, probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
It'd
right.
be very inconvenient.
I mean, I guess you could say like Hawaii, but that's not
South
like that's-
Dakota.
At least the weather is predictable after the flight.
South Dakota.
like, let's go play. I don't even know what the capital of South Dakota is off the top of my head.
Bismarck?
Yeah.
No.
No,
Pierre.
Bismarck is North Dakota.
North
South
Pierre.
Dakota. Yeah, South Dakota's Pierre.
Oh, Pierre.
Oh, I said St. Pierre.
dude, I'm so good at state capitals.
Is it Pierre or St. Pierre?
I just added a touch of class on it,
Oh no, if it's not. Is it
Check.
Pierre or
I
Saint
think
used
it
to
is.
know
I think
all-
it is.
It's just right up here. I used to know all of the capitals of all the countries in the world. And by used to, what I mean to say is in high
All
school,
the
I had no
countries?
friends.
All the countries in
and
the
so I would-
world?
All the countries.
Yeah, so
oh wow.
I would just memorize things because no one would talk to me at lunch. And so I had
Like,
like
sitting over here
oh.
like he's Steven fucking Glansberg.
That's because anytime
had-
somebody
so
came
like
up to you, Ben, Ben was just sitting to himself going like, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan.
last Vietnam.
Oh, I get that goo in Burkina Faso.
Afghanistan is Kabul.
What's Georgia?
Tbilisi.
What's Uzbekistan?
Dude, that was so fast.
Uzbek is I don't know, Uzbekistan. It's like Ashgabat or something like that.
New
Uzbekistan.
Zealand.
New Zealand is Wellington, I think.
Nice.
Heck yeah. Go Bulls.
Christchurch is the city in New Zealand, though,
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I also did pi up to like 720 digits, man. I was vibing.
720 digits of pi?
Yeah, but at the peak, I couldn't possibly do that now.
Wow.
That is astonishing, I got to say. We might make you do that at the live show.
All right.
So sorry.
I'll get back to practicing.
Okay. All right. Let's get on back on track here. Minnesota Vikings. They have the 11th pick and the 23rd pick. They have nothing else until the 4th round. 6.5 is their win total. They have the worst odds in the division, 7-1. Heifetz, what do the Vikings need? Obviously, a quarterback.
Yeah, the cards are on the table. Like, you ever play like poker with someone and you're like, hey, you're bleeding. Like, you could just see their cards. Like, the Vikings just have to first and they want a quarterback. And so I mean, we could talk about other stuff, but they're going to trade a bunch of picks for quarterback. And I wanted to ask you guys, I feel like this is like, I was like, what's the best landing spot for a rookie quarterback to succeed in the last like 10, 15 years? Because I was looking, Russell Wilson go to the Legion of Boom Seahawks. Loki Kirk Cousins going to Washington, not for the players, but for like 7 head coaches on that staff.
Mahomes?
Mahomes to the Andy Reid Chiefs that had already won the division, and they had Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. You have Dak going to Dallas with the best offensive line of the league. And then I would say Brock Purdy a couple years ago with Debo, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams at left tackle, and Kyle Shanahan.
It's hard to say like things like Brock Purdy because like every last pick in the draft is likely going. Like a lot of these like later on guys are going to good teams. So it's like there's a million quarterbacks who have gone
like
to
Tanner
good teams.
McKee ended up at a crazy good spot when the Eagles drafted him.
Fair, but I guess the Vikings are on that list, right? Like
it
Justin
should be
Jefferson
first round guys.
Yeah, but Justin Jefferson at receiver, Jordan Addison at receiver, TJ Hawkinson, another first-round pick. He's coming off an ACL. And then they have Christian Darrisaw was a first-round pick at left tackle. Brian Neal was a second-round pick at right tackle. Like, this is an incredible team. And I'm like, I think that this is probably the best spot for rookie quarterback since Patrick Mahomes in 2018. I don't remember. Like, this is an unbelievable situation for whoever goes there. Like, if you could just be, like, take a job and not be drafted, if you're going to work, if you had offers from all these places for equal money, you'd go to the Vikings.
Let me, I agree. Let me devil's advocate real quick. I think that like the Addison, Hawkinson, Jefferson thing is pretty impeachable, right? Like, they got like a really nice trio of pass catchers. Darrisaw and O'Neal, those are some great tackles. There's a big difference between like calling an offense for an established quarterback and like developing a young guy. And I think you saw some of that in the back half of the season for the Vikings, just when they had Jaron Hall out there. Dobbs obviously was a veteran, Mullins was a veteran, but still when they had that carousel of guys, which is that they run a pretty complex offense in terms of the passing game, what they ask Kirk to do. Like, Kirk is as vet as it gets in this offense. He knows every single check in the book. He's willing to make every single throw. He trusts the offense completely. Like, it's not so easy as saying like, oh, when we have a rookie, let's take like our 25 simplest plays, start there and just kind of scale it up. Like it takes some coaxing. Like, developing a guy's not that easy. So this is a big deal for Kevin O'Connell, who just like, obviously I like Kevin O'Connell a lot. I if you made me bet, I would bet that he's got a great plan to develop him in place. I think he's a really good and sharp coach, but it is a challenge, right? Like as good as the environment is, there also is the how do we teach and work with a young guy when we've been literally like having the paragon of NFL veteran quarterbacks in Kirk Cousins, just the most like I do what I'm told in this offense possible. Like that is a big substantial change for the coaching staff there in Minnesota.
All right, let's go to the NFC West. San Francisco, this poor team, they have the 31st pick in the draft. Their over/under win total is 11.5. They have the best odds to win the division. This team is returning all 11 offensive starters, I believe. And yet, right now on the Rewatchables, we're doing something called Rock Bottom Month, where we're kind of like every movie, is somewhat about like a person or a situation that is kind of at the rock bottom. Obviously, the Niners were in the Super Bowl. That is not rock bottom. However, mentally, the state of this team, the state of the fan base, the state of Kyle Shanahan might be at rock bottom compared to any other winning franchise in the history of sports. This team, if anything, they just need to draft like a team therapy session more than they do any more players. Where are you at with the Niners?
I totally think you're right. Like, I'm looking at the Arizona Cardinals 11-1 to win this division because I'm like, we have to account for the fact that the Niners are just going to explode and like come apart this season.
I was a Niners are going to explode believer this past offseason. So I think I'll probably be one this offseason again, just because like you have to be.
Never
right?
They were
wrong,
saying it
Yeah.
at the before the Super Bowl. Like, they were admitting, if we don't win this one, we got to win. Like, and then they didn't win, and they all like. So, but to your point, like Colton McKivitz is a right tackle. John Feliciano they brought back at right guard. Both those guys like got longer contracts, but not like a commitment. They gave them money that in case we can't do better than you, we will keep you here. But both, I think if the Niners can improve the right side of their line, which honestly did lose them the game kind of, the Niners will do that. But again, 31st pick, probably the most offensive tackles in the history of the draft are going to be taken in the first 30 picks. So I feel like Niners are going to have to take a second rounder with that pick. And then the question's like, do they take a Brandon Ayuk replacement? But I don't know if this team drafts with the patience. Like, Kyle Shannon's just tilting. He fired Steve Wilkes, the defensive coordinator. I don't think Steve Wilkes has lost them the Super Bowl. Like, I think frankly, like the organization is like tilting.
Mm-hmm. I think they'll be fine.
DK the Seahawks fan being like, I've seen this.
You can't kill this team, you guys.
Well, you can. It just happens at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's just after they've beaten the entire NFC first.
Or when they play at
I hear you on
MetLife.
offensive line. They're the two spots that interest me defensively. They lose Eric Armstead and replace him with Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott as well in free agency. Like, I do think that as always with the 49ers, more adds to their defensive line is possible because they tend to be like, a platoon guy. They're going to have a ton of snaps available. They believe in their ability to like develop these explosive players. So I do think the line is possible. And then the real issue they had coming into that game, that Super Bowl, going through like all their film and all their data, it didn't manifest itself too much, but it's still there, is that they have two good corners in Travarius Ward on the outside, all pro caliber guys, excellent. And Diamador Lenore is a good young player for them. When they have to go nickel, which is a lot in the NFL, I do this quite often, they bump Lenore to the inside and put Ambry Thomas out there as their new outside corner, and Ambry was getting picked on all the end of the season and into the postseason. They were going after Ambry Thomas. And so I do also think end of the first round is a good spot for corner in this particular class. It tends to be a good spot in every class, but I really do like the guys this year. I could see them going for a dude who's able to be their third corner, whether a slot player or an outside player, and replacing Ambry Thomas.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense for them to address the defensive side. All right, let's go to the Rams here. They have the 19th pick. They have a pick. The Rams have a first round pick, which is exciting.
It's an eclipse
for now.
That's an eclipse.
First one since Jared Goff, dude. And Jared Goff's like 60, 65. How old is Jared Goff? He's up there. Like, that's unbelievable.
Where were you in April 2016? That is the last time the Rams had a first
I was
round pick.
at that draft as a fan because that was the Carson Wentz draft.
I was in college.
Yeah, I was in college at Chicago. The draft was in Chicago. I had church that evening, day one, but I wanted to go down and see everything and like be an Eagles fan because they were going to draft Wentz. So I had on my suit, my shirt and tie, and I had an Eagles hoodie on over it. And I was deathly sick and I was freezing. And I camped out for like 5 hours and I saw Carson Wentz in a car and I waved at him and he waved at me. And that was the peak of Ben at the time. Since then, man, we've moved on. But I remember that draft day like it was yesterday, dude.
So the Rams, their win total is 8.5. The Rams are a real fun story because I feel like, last year a lot of people picked them to be the worst team in the league, and then they were a playoff team.
I did. I thought they were going to totally suck.
Yeah, they almost beat the Lions. Probably maybe should have beaten the Lions in the playoffs, and have managed to develop a lot of these late draft picks. I mean, shit, they're like the guy who's like always finds discounts on things, and you're like annoyed about it.
Yeah.
I got this at a farmer's market. Oh, no, it was actually on sale. I got this for $20. It's like Kobe Turner, Puka Nacua. So, Heifetz.
Kyron Williams.
Heifetz, what do the Rams need? Obviously, Aaron Donald retired. What do the Rams need?
Honestly, they spend at free agency and guard. They're good on offense, honestly, which is kind of weird to say. That they need a pass rusher. Where they get it from, who cares? Like, if they get a defensive tackle or an edge rusher, I think the Rams look at it like the Aaron Donald experience, like having the greatest defensive tackle ever of the generation, changed how they look at stuff. And so I don't think they'll care where they get it from as long as they get a pass rusher. I do wonder if they get Latu at a UCLA, the combo of him being in LA and the combo of him just having this like super advanced arsenal of Pat DK. You've talked about it. I wonder if just Aaron Donald and all the knife fighting, like the Rams look at that and they're like, yeah, that's super valuable, isn't it? So I don't know. DK, I don't know if
seamless transition. Just give Latu the knives.
Yeah, give him the knives.
Pass down that. It's like passing the torch or whatever, the baton. Pass him the knives, and he'll just take over. I like that a lot for him. For Latu, I think that'd be a perfect fit for them. They've got a couple of young passers, like Byron Young last year was really good for them. Kind of a third round guy, super athletic, but a little bit older, so he fell a little bit, and he was decent for them. I think just continuing to add to that. I like the defensive tackles too for this team. So. But Latu, I think, would be kind of the dream for the Rams.
All right, let's go to Seattle here. 16th overall pick. They have no second rounder. They traded that to the Giants in the Leonard Williams deal. Their win total projection is 7.5. The Seahawks will be starting Geno Smith, and they also have Sam Howell as their backup quarterback now. 9-1 odds to win the division. They have a new head coach. Heifetz, DK. What do the Seahawks need?
They need a basketball hoop. Get it back.
Oh yeah, there's a big hubbub in Seahawks land right now because Pete Carroll for the entire time he was there had like a basketball hoop in the area where they do all the press conferences and stuff.
Man, Pete's the best. I love that guy.
But Mike
it's the
McDonald
easiest way to get the
it.
media to like you is just let all the reporters shoot basketballs before and after the press conference.
He's the best.
Anyway, Mike McDonald got rid of it. It's like, to me, this is a little bit of a bad omen because people were asking about it. I think all the last couple of months.
Yeah, don't get rid of basketball in Seattle.
Hired, but also McDonald's like, this is my team now. This is like the Pete era is over. I got to be my own man.
You know, the head of PR in Seattle was sitting down in his office. And he was like, I have to go explain to Mike McDonald why taking this basketball hoop down is a bad idea. Like, what's my job, man? Come on, what is this?
I think all the time about those people for Washington and everything they had to tell Josh Harris once he bought Washington. They're like, all right, here's what you need to know.
One of my buddies tweeted this like way back in the day, and it's something that has really stuck with me. It's like, and he tweeted a picture of Pete Carroll dribbling the basketball, and he was like, "There's just something about the way that Pete dribbles that makes me trust him."
He's got a steady handle.
He does. It's like this guy just knows ball kind of deal. And so I don't know. This is very different. It's like a stark. It's a reminder of the Pete Carroll era is officially dead.
So I get it. I get it if you're Mike McDonald. Like, you need to come in and clean house and set a new standard. Like, you can't be using somebody else's like old traditions that built their own culture. You need to clean slate, even if it's feels sterile and
you absolutely you have to do it, and you have to know that you're going to be taking your lumps when you do it. People are going to complain about it.
Yeah,
and then 2 months from now, there's going to be ping pong in the locker room at OTAs, and they're going to be like, "Oh, so Mike McDonald does like games," and you just have to be like, "Haha," and just try to get to August.
So we're saying we got to see Mike McDonald dribble a basketball until we see if we can trust him.
Before we know if we can trust
someone
him.
Toss him a chest pass when he comes up for a podium one day. See what he does with it.
It's like how someone's just like idly dribbling and sort of like ball handling. You get that. By the way, they need an offensive lineman. I don't know. That's it.
That's it.
I'm actually
no, that's not
legitimately interested in this.
That's not
because I really struggle to mock for the Seahawks, right? I've given them a tackle, and people get mad at me because obviously they have Lucas and they have Cross.
Mm-hmm. They have the 16th pick as well. So
yeah, I think the interior is absolutely a spot. Linebacker is very weird to me. They had the whole secondary benching rotation thing going on last year. Like, you think it's for sure interior offensive line? Where else could you see him go?
Yeah, I think interior offensive line or just any offensive line, because they had like multiple injuries at the offensive line last year. They were platooning guys at right tackle. So I think it would make a ton of sense, even though they did sign George Fant as like a swing tackle. Linebacker is a big one. I still think they need just pass rushers in general. They don't have any like star pass rushers. You know, Boye Mafe kind of came on strong last year. Darrell Taylor's still around, but he's more of just, he's closer to just a guy than a star. And so I don't know. I think they could use any of those. An interior pass rusher, I think would be fine, would be good. Pretty much anything on defense would be perfectly fine with me. Safety still pretty shallow. They're solid at corner, which is good. But I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if they took a corner too. Really anything on defense.
All right, let's finish up here with Arizona. Arizona has the 4th pick in the draft, the 27th, as well as the 35th. They have the most picks in the draft. Their win total projection is 6.5, 11-1 odds to win the division. Heifetz, they have the 4th pick in the draft here. I refuse to believe that if they're sitting there at 4 and Marvin Harrison is there, considering the fact that their wide receiving room is comprised of Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, Chris Moore, Zach Pascal, that they would let Marvin Harrison Jr. go and trade out of that spot. I don't believe it.
I
agree.
When I say that, I'm only saying it's basically like a fancy 3-way trade where they would get him anyway. But either way, it doesn't matter. Like, I think the Cardinals get Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think that when it's all said and done, we're going to say the Cardinals won the draft, which again, how much does that matter? The Eagles won the draft last year and they were super embarrassed at the end of the season. And so whatever. But I do think we're going to say on Sunday that the Cardinals won the draft because the Cardinals desperately need a receiver. They lost Hollywood Brown, as you said. Like, again, Dortch is like what? Number 2 receiver for them.
Yeah.
They're going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. They desperately need cornerback. But then you have the Cardinals. They don't just pick at 4. They also pick at 27 from Houston. They have the 35th pick. They have 6 picks in the top 90. They have 11 overall. Like, not
11 total.
They have 11 picks in the whole draft. And they're going to be able to get cornerback and they're going to be able to get a pass rusher. And I think they'll get kind of everything they need. I'm like, wow, they got everything they need. The Cardinals and Jonathan Gannon, fire in your gut.
Pew, pew.
It's actually, I watched it again. It's actually shoo shoo.
Oh,
I can't.
That's even weirder. Nobody says that.
I tried to watch it again.
Shoo.
It was much too painful. I had to turn it off immediately. I was like,
it really
I
is
just can't
Michael
do it. I can't
Scott.
do it.
It's kind of like if Michael Scott was really inspiring. It's like Michael Scott, Kendall Roy combo.
We saw him in the airport. He's pretty buff.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah.
John Gannon?
Yeah.
He's like, looks like he works out a lot.
The unified theory of defensive coordinators never fails. But jacked or old, And Jonathan Gannon was jacked, and the defense was good, and then he leaned down, and their defense got worse. And now he's more buff than he was because he's
bulking.
All right, you can only get older 1 year at a time.
Yeah,
but you can get buff, you can get big.
That's your top one take, Solak. Is that's so true. Every defense coordinator has to be old or buff.
If you're going to be good at coaching defense, get one of two things: old or jacked.
Quite the athlete, Jonathan Gannon. You know, he won a state championship in basketball, district champ as a hurdler, and won a state championship as a wide receiver and defensive back.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
They also have a great
Completely
thing.
Changed my opinion of him.
There was a good story about him on ESPN, and they're talking about how like all these coaches have really like Mike McDaniel's really expensive stuff. Like Mike McDaniel's have $50,000 watches, and all the Shanahan guys who are buddies have really expensive watches. Jonathan Gannon has a $20 Casio. I'm gonna get yelled at that for now.
Casio.
I've only seen it written. $20 Casio watch he bought 20 years ago, and he wears it every day.
That's
John
awesome.
Gannon is the exact sort of guy and story that I would fall for and did when he was hired. And I now just universally don't like him because the Eagles lost the Super Bowl. Like everything about him, I'm like, great dude.
It was
And
kind of
then
his
I also-
fault too, because he like took the job and didn't tell him he was interviewing.
Hey,
or
a little
whatever.
yeast levels a whole lot, man. It ruined my Super Bowl, 38 points, Patrick Mahomes. I'm done. Out on Jonathan Gannon for the rest of the time.
He suffered a career-ending injury at Louisville, which is what stopped his sports playing career.
I think Arizona, they're going to get everything they want. All right, well, that's the NFC. Also, really quick, I want to hit the Colts because we literally just talked about the Jaguars yesterday during the Colts. But yeah, Colts defense, cornerbacks, get a defender. They're in a good
Big,
spot.
strong, fast.
Sorry to the
men.
Colts fans who were mad at us because we talked
Wait,
about
we
the
skipped
Jags.
Indianapolis?
We got on a tangent that was probably my fault. and then we
Us?
just-
Are you sure?
A little bit.
Can you prove
But-
that with science?
Anthony
how?
Richardson. There's a lot of hype around Anthony Richardson, and I think it's legit. I think Anthony Richardson is going to be a
Oh, I cannot wait.
mega
Yeah.
superstar this year.
I think
If he stays
outside
healthy.
corner for sure. I also, man, would not be too worried. Go get you a top receiver at the top 15 would not bother me. All right. Like, listen, Pittman, good contract. Josh Downs, good. When you have the young quarterback, the CJ Stroud with the Texans, you load up. So I think there's room for more pass catchers. Also, tight end. Brock Bowers.
Do you remember?
Bowers
No,
would be
come on.
really
Do you remember
fun.
off the top of their top of your head, like how much they were passing early on when Richardson was starting? Because it was a short.
What their pass rate was?
Yeah, like were they super run heavy? Or
It wasn't like up there, but it was up there.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were like, running the Dorian Thompson-Robinson offense.
Right.
Like, no, they were throwing it.
So thank you to the Colts fans who emailed us in. Also, speaking of emails, we talked the last episode about the Eclipse.
Yeah.
And wow,
Eclipse.
everyone agrees we were wrong, and here's why. So apparently, I learned how eclipses work way too late. So Chris, Dustin, the 1,000 people who've contacted us, a couple people summed it up well.
Chris, Dustin.
Chris,
Dustin.
My NFL comp because I was somehow I saw 93% totality in DC, and I was like, what's up with this? They were like, 93% totality versus full totality is like the people who saw full totality are like watching Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce play football. And they're like, wow, football's great. And then I'm watching 93% like Daniel Jones. And I'm like, wow, why do people talk about this so much? They're like, it's the same thing. So the 2 to 3 minutes when the sun is blacked out is mind blowing. And then we got another email from astrophysicist Adam.
Damn.
Wow.
Astrophysicist.
Astrophysicist Adam points out that before we talked about the eclipse, at some point, I had quoted Ricky Bobby saying, if you ain't first, you're last. He says, that's the eclipse. The phone again. The phone. Pick it up. Pick it up.
Not
Answer
the
it.
most disruptive.
Put him on speaker and everything. Put him on.
Hello?
Who is it? Put him on speaker.
Hello?
Speaker.
There's no one on the other
It's
end
the
of this
facts.
You
What?
can't put
It's a
speaker
fax?
on
He's
the
getting
phone.
the facts right now. I bet.
Oh, man.
phone. It was nobody.
Respect
It was
for
a-
answering it.
I think it was a Colts fan calling.
Yeah.
It was an eclipse of a call. That sound. Emails at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com. You know, there's sounds
But
of phone
I've
and stuff.
it's a good the totality thing is funny because I guess if you imagine like going to bed at night and you had a blackout blind, how dark your room would be. But if you left the blind 7% open and the sun is behind it, how
Yeah,
much
right.
light
Well,
would
and
get
that's-
into your
literally,
room?
someone sent us a graph.
That's how light works. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Someone sent us a graph that was basically, it's like 99% totality is not, it's your first or last. And basically everyone's like, yeah, if there's any amount of sunlight, it's like a weird oddity you went to your roof to see. But everyone who was there in totality basically is, including Riley McAtee, who helps us with the NFL draft guy. He's DK's editor. Like Riley's like,
Oh, he wouldn't saw it?
they're like, yeah,
Nice.
Riley's saying it's, if you're in the path of totality. Or I like our term better.
What
Path
was
of
the Oblivion thing you guys were talking about?
But they're
that?
saying
just
it's like
confused.
It's called the Umbra. Okay, there's a technical
I don't know
term
what that
for it. It's
is.
Umbra, and it's sick.
I don't
and
know
then the non-perfect area is called the Penumbra,
I was-
and it's beautiful.
I was like
And it's
the-
in-
Latin.
I was one of the
everyone's
ghosts
saying it's like
for
a-
this. Yeah.
Everyone's saying basically it's you're on an alien planet, and a lot of people, like more than one person, were saying it's like a life perspective shifting thing where you feel connected to everyone. Maybe that's just the mushrooms people did during the eclipse. I don't know.
Didn't you tell me? You told me one time to never yuck someone's yum. I was surprised that you were anti.
I feel bad because I want to issue like a formal apology to everyone who's
Apologize
disappointed.
to the moon.
I'm
to
sorry.
the moon, Heifetz.
It is really cool, and I'm sorry. I think that I just was shocked that like I just had no idea. Like when I saw that prisoners had sued to go outside, but now I get
Well,
it.
that's
I'm like,
kind of
okay.
funny.
I
was like,
actually
what? But
can't
then I
believe
read
that
the
happened.
path.
I don't understand how that works. Like, how did they gain legal counsel? I just don't understand that.
But I was focused on the wrong thing. It is really cool. I do love stuff like that. It's crazy.
Hyven, see, you handled this poorly. You either have to go all in or all out. Like it was funny. You did the Larry David thing. You're like, the eclipse. Who cares? And then everybody emailed you, and you should have doubled down and said, all you guys are losers. Stop staring at the sun and go about your life.
I think if you're in the path of totality, it's like go and have your like connected to the oneness of the universe thing.
It's cool.
But I was not in the path of totality, and I kind of just wish I hadn't wasted all the time.
Did you guys
You were
see?
in the-
Did you guys see the tweet? There, somebody tweeted the stats of Odell Beckham before he looked out his window and stared at an eclipse.
Oh my god!
And after he stared at the eclipse, and they're like, he's like Hall of Fame level stats. And then he stared at the eclipse, and everything has just been fucking downhill since then.
Dude, everyone's like, don't stare at the eclipse. And it's like, I kind of want to stare at the eclipse though.
Oh, 100%.
The Odell, that picture is incredible. That's me looking at Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have like our eclipse player, like don't stare at it, but we
Don't
can't help
stare
it.
at them directly.
Yeah, I'm like
Yeah,
Josh
that's
Palmer.
good. No,
don't look at him.
It's HN. It's Devon HN. Don't stare at HN directly.
Yeah,
You can't
yeah,
look
yeah.
him. It blind you.
Devon Achane
I'm-
is like the nudes in bio guy. Like, don't go.
It's just the replies.
I'm
on
a
any
lot more
tweet now.
tempted to look at the eclipse directly than I am to click on the nudes and bio guy, for being honest. Eclipse way more interesting to me.
All right, so yeah, I genuinely like all the people who did the eclipse. It sounds cool, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of got jealous later. Okay, so we asked everyone to email us in other natural phenomenon that are cool. Sean, I mean, this was obvious, but Sean emailed in to say, Sean, the Northern Lights are properly rated. Pretty short, and I got a pretty short and fairly weak sighting of the Northern Lights during a trip to Reykjavik in Iceland, and it was the most incredible and spellbinding. Reykjavik. All right, that's literally Icelandic.
You're fine. You're fine.
No, I don't.
There's
I
a
was.
J.
I wasn't being mean about it.
I know. I'm just getting defensive now because
Yeah.
I'm on edge. I'm just.
Totally fine.
I probably
Anyway.
said it wrong anyway.
He says it was short and fairly weak, but it was the most incredible and spellbinding thing I've ever seen. I can only imagine what a full-scale Northern Lights would look like.
I kind of like that he was a little bit underwhelmed. I find it to be hilarious. I love when people go on fancy trips or go places with high expectations, and in the moment it's a little bit of a letdown, and then kind of watching how they handle that and how they decide to communicate their trip and wrap up their trip to like all their friends and family. I've suffered from it where you're like, am I really going to say that I went to Africa for 2 weeks and come home and be like, it was fine? Like, I just love people being like, actually, it was incredible. And then you talk to like one of their friends and they're like, they didn't have a good time.
I was screaming when you guys were talking about the natural phenomenon that would be fun to witness, assuming everyone is safe and no one gets killed. I was screaming the whole time. It would be fucking rad to watch a volcano explode, like from a somewhat reasonable distance, like that
Space,
to me.
perhaps.
Well,
I think that's
somewhere where you're not going to get incinerated. You know,
That's a separate conversation. That's like what thing that would kill you would you want to see up close if you could?
All animals.
jeez.
A volcano's a good one.
How about the meteor killing all the
Oh,
dinosaurs?
yeah. That's actually
mean-
that's a good one too.
I mean, yes, that would be quite something to see. Yeah.
Well,
You
picked
have
a volcano,
dude.
No,
It's like
volcanoes explode all the time. I would like to be within a vicinity to watch a volcano explode where I'm not getting incinerated. It's different than a fucking meteor in the Earth causing like global
destruction.
extinction.
Do you know that dinosaurs died out way slower? I always thought the dinosaurs died really quickly. It took like years and years. It took a long time for that to happen.
they were starved? Yeah, not great.
I don't know.
Is that
Anyway,
right?
yeah, it's a whole.
Because I think all the vegetation died on Earth.
All that. Yeah,
There were a lot of dinosaurs, and like the meteor wasn't that big, so some of them didn't get hit.
It was fucking big.
Not
the
like
Yucatan.
continents big.
Landed in the
Yeah.
Gulf of Mexico. There's an incredible New Yorker article about this that just describes like what it's like. Like they're talking about glass rain from the sky, glass formed like vapor.
Oh,
Anyway,
jeez, that's not great.
other stuff. Yeah, that's one day. Other phenomenon. Preston says, I grew up in the
Preston?
mountain. I grew up in the mountains of East Tennessee in the foothills of the Smokies. There's no phenomenon in this country like the synchronous fireflies, which I did not know what that was.
I know about these.
So I clicked on it. I sent you guys the link. It's right here. And I had never heard of this, but honestly, just Google it. And it's kind of insane. But I guess there's like an absurd amount of fireflies that all do.
They
Right,
like
but also like,
synchronize
for whatever
flying?
reason, for
Glowing.
whatever reason they've developed like I don't think it's genetically, I think it's socially that they all turn on and off at like the same time.
That's
They
nuts.
actually they're synchronous, literally. It's pretty sick.
Craig, have you ever experienced fireflies? West Coast kid?
Yes, my extended family lives in Pittsburgh, and I remember seeing them as a
Oh.
kid.
Is it
I
just
didn't
East
know
Coast?
I didn't know that either.
Well,
I just thought everybody had fireflies.
I do not know if they're on the West Coast. I have never seen one on the West Coast. I know because I grew
Wow.
up for at least a few years in Nebraska.
Dude, fireflies are sick.
They're not they're not in California.
Yeah.
I know that.
Fireflies
They're not
are
in
awesome.
Washington either, as far as I know.
Anybody calling them lightning bugs?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to catch
Yeah.
them in
You
jars.
catch them in jars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, there were certain kinds of kids. The
Back
same
before
thing
the
that would,
internet,
like
when you did shit, you know?
they're the kind of kids that would tabletop you or like kick you in the balls would also be the kids that would kill the fireflies and rub the stew. And I'm like, why would you murder the fireflies?
Oh,
It's so
God.
fucked up.
Brutal.
Are you guys
Um,
bug killers? Like,
No,
what
I'm
is the
not.
line of like bugs you would kill versus not kill?
Flies in spite. Well, one's in my house versus out really is the line. If it's out my house, it's not my business. It's my rule. But like flies and spiders.
Yeah.
But
What if there's a spider on your outdoor table at a restaurant?
how big is it?
Little guy.
Just go like flick it away.
You kinda
Honestly,
flick it
spiders
off.
are good to have around because spiders capture way more bug. One spider, it's like a cat with mice. One spider is going to like ROI on the bug kill.
Yeah, but are you
If you-
sleeping in a room with a giant spider right above you?
No.
If you could eradicate one bug and it wouldn't mess up the world's ecosystem, what bug would you?
Oh my
would you
God,
get rid of?
spiny
Mosquitoes
little
by a
fuck-
fucking
no,
mile.
oh,
Fuck
well, that-
mosquitoes.
Or that would help a lot of people. But outside of that, the spiny little cricket things, the big fucking
Cicada?
No, not the the
Oh,
cicadas.
The
are wild.
sex crazed cicadas.
They're coming back.
Cicada was my first thought.
You saw the zombie
The
cicadas?
the sex addled
The zombies.
STD bearing cicadas.
Yeah, they have the zombie gonorrhea or whatever, and that they. Dude, this is wait. Now we got to pull it up. The gonorrhea cicadas or whatever.
God,
This is like
Dude.
what the fuck time are we living
is-
in here?
In
I was
case
at a
you
wedding in outside of Philly last October, dude. A cicada landed on my back.
I would love
Oh
to
my
see
God.
that reaction.
And Liz was like, Craig, the largest bug I have ever seen is attached to your back right now. She had to grab an empty wine glass and like swat it off me.
That's insane. I'm also, in case you don't know what I'm talking about and you think this is fake, I'm reading from CBS News right now.
Fake news.
Hypersexual zombie cicadas that are infected with sexually transmitted fungus are expected to emerge this year. Trillions of cicadas will emerge across several U.S. states this spring in an event one expert
And they're all
dubbed
going to Lake Havasu.
Cicada-geddon. Yeah, that's good.
Jet
But-
skiing.
So so the cicadas, people know what cicadas are. They emerge from the ground every 13, 17 years, whatever. So
Bizarre.
Which one is it?
Bug.
but so what's crazy is this, they all have this STD fungus, and the fungus, the cicada, the fungus causes the backside of their abdomens to open up. A chalky white plug erupts out, taking over their bodies, making their genitals fall off. And then they continue to mate.
You
as
think
if
you
their
got problems? Try
But yeah,
being a
the bottom,
cicada.
the back 1/3
Why do
of
you
their
keep saying
body becomes a
cicada?
fungus.
What
What
is
is
it?
Cicada, DK.
Cicada?
Cicada. What is it? I don't even know.
This
It's
is
not
not
a-
a tomato. This is cicada for sure.
Cicada.
I like that. You're saying it like I would imagine Heifetz would say it.
Yeah,
Cicada.
I've like been around It's too long.
No, this one's on you.
I'm
You called Elon
Italianizing
Musk.
everything.
Elon Musk and
Cicada.
cicada is as bad as anything I've mispronounced.
That's false, but okay.
It's just funnier when Heifetz mispronounces something.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
I can't. I have no justification or no explanation. Just when DK gets it wrong, I'm like, I think that's wrong. And when you get it wrong, I'm like, let's make this the whole topic.
Solex
bury
says
this man.
prescient like 5 times in an episode. No one bats an eye. I let it go.
Yeah.
It's prescient.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no one laughs.
In Ben's
It's just me.
defense, I think prescient and prescient are very interchangeable colloquially.
It's English though. Fiasco and fiasco are not English.
How many
It's like,
times
it's a
do we have to
different
have
word.
this discussion?
But like, look,
my
people
God.
say comfortable, even though it's comfortable. Like there are ways people speak that are just
That's
easier.
stuff that veers into an accent. Like my parents call it draw instead of a drawer, and I'm like, is that a speech impediment or what's up?
No,
with
that's an accent. Anyway, I would get rid of cockroaches in a second.
Oh yeah, no, that's the answer. That's got to be the answer.
no,
They
it's,
give me
it's
the
mosquitoes.
heebie-jeebies.
It's 100%
Well, mosquitoes would like.
Well, like,
Mosquitoes are
globally,
the
yeah.
fucking
first-
worst.
that
No,
would save
not
people.
even like the fact they spread disease. I fucking hate mosquitoes.
Really?
Oh, so
They're the
not
worst.
saving the people, just because.
No. Who cares about them? Like, no,
Yeah.
obviously I do care about them. But like, they're the most annoying creature on earth.
The
DK
second best
pro
trivia
malaria.
question. The second best trivia question we ever got was how many mosquitoes would have to simultaneously suck your blood until you died.
Jesus.
I don't get bitten by mosquitoes. I've never been bit by one.
Oh,
What?
God.
Man, dude,
Excuse
I
me?
got that sweet blood. They're all over me like white
Sweet
on rice.
blood.
You've never been bit by a mosquito, and wait,
Dude,
I don't
Well,
know.
there are
my
there-
sister
mosquitoes are-
would get bit by them
yeah.
constantly growing up, and I would never get bit by them.
It's a fair.
So
Is it a
so
pheromones
even the
or-
mosquitoes wouldn't hang
smell
out with you.
thing?
That's why you memorized the
yeah,
capitals.
that was a tough vibe, dude. It was harsh. I was looking for any
Brutal.
friends, insect or man.
This is why he learned pi to 700 characters. The fucking mosquitoes didn't
yeah.
even want to hang out.
I'm
But
going-
I do get bit by horseflies, and a lot when you're fishing. So like those are the ones that come up to me. It was like horseflies, man. I can't stand those suckers.
I'm going to Africa for a couple weeks in May, and I have to take malaria pills.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where are you
I've never
going?
done that before. I'm going to Kenya and Tanzania.
Safari.
Yes,
That's sick.
Super rad.
but yeah, you got to load up. I got to get all my vaccines, like yellow fever, dengue, malaria pills. Apparently, I got to get the polio vaccine. I think that's popped up a little bit in
Wow.
Africa.
Yeah,
so
that's back. Yeah,
I'm gonna get fully loaded.
Craig.
we
don't
had
relax.
polio in the first half.
What'd you say?
We had polio in the first half. Not gonna lie, but
Right, we really did. It was
Right.
kind of a 27-3 comeback situation.
that's a real L. We kind of screwed that one up. All right.
Shanahan was administering that vaccine, I think.
All right. Thank you, DK. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Solak. Thank you, Kai, for producing this episode. Thank you, Tucker. Thank you, Kira. Thank you, Jack, for helping behind the scenes. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Emails for gmail.com about what do we got here. I can't even keep track. Everything we talked about this episode. Whatever.
Buy tickets to our Detroit show.
Yeah,
Come
buy
see us
tickets
in
to our Detroit show.
Few
Come
tickets
see
left.
us.
They're cheap, $200.
Craig.
At
Craig,
Craig
stop.
Hellbeck.
I think they're 25 to be clear.
NFLdraft.thearena.com.
8 installments of $25. Look, we got to pay the bills.
Thank you, Lord.
Lord,
Lord.
Thank you, Toto.
I
Nice.
bless the
Oh.
rains down and out. I knew you were going there.
Do they have another song?
Yeah, they have a couple
Um,
songs. They have a couple big songs.
Yeah. Do they?
Yes.
I bless the rains down in Africa.
No, they have
the other
Hold-
ones.
Hold the Line. Isn't that a song by Toto?
That sounds very familiar.
Hold the line.
Like,
Love isn't always on time. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I think that's them. I think the members of Toto are a little bit upset that is the song that took off. And I think in their minds, they're like, we have a lot of other better songs than Africa. But look,
They're wrong and we're right. It's tough for them.
Yeah, really lost in the marketplace of ideas. What's up? I'm looking at. I've never looked at these people. What they look like? Is this guy? What's with this guy's wearing the hat, the top hat?
Is Toto Australian? Are they Australian?
No,
Where are they from?
they're American. They
Lot
were
of
like a
bolo
jam
tie.
band that used to play with a lot of the yacht rock groups in like the
Oh.
80s. Like they would play with like Steely Dan and a lot of those. They were like kind of like travel musicians that would play on a lot of other albums.
Oh yeah, nice.
Anyway,
Yeah, would you rather have? I guess this is probably an obvious question. But would you rather have like a one hit wonder and just be able to live off that song and travel and do like the casino circuit and make
like a
pretty
tub
good money?
thumping.
Yeah,
thing.
or just like have a small but rabid fan base that loves your entire collection, but you don't make
I
as
think
much
the
money.
latter.
I think. Yeah,
But you don't make
especially
nearly
the-
as much money, and you're not as commercially famous.
But I want to feel
Yeah.
fulfilled creatively, and I want to know that people like appreciate all my music.
I'm in it for the
Even
love
if
of the
your
game,
music
DK.
sucks.
Well, my fans don't. I don't think it sucks. My small
I'm just
niche
kidding.
fans don't think it sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
DK, I feel like you like a lot of niche bands.
Yeah, but I'm trying to decide basically how I would feel if we had one good podcast. Everyone loves this one episode, and then the rest of the episodes are like terrible. But the one episode,
isn't that true? Isn't it just take purge and then people
Yeah,
kind of
no,
take
we had
off
one.
for 6 months?
But
Yeah,
you know,
all
it's
right, I
like,
guess we'll listen to the rest of this if we have to.
how sick of playing Africa are you like by the year 10, you know?
Yeah.
Or do you just get a kick out of it every time you start playing? The crowd just goes absolutely fucking
Well, I think about that
bonkers.
with Stevie Nicks, where Stevie Nicks is now like, it's amazing to me that like she still has to sing about breaking up with Lindsey Buckingham. I'm like, this was like 60 years ago.
Yeah, but I
Like,
bet you she still likes to stick it to him.
Yeah, that's true. They've been on and off. But you know what I mean? Like, isn't it weird that Taylor Swift will be singing about how she felt when she was 14? When she's like 90, she's still going to be doing this?
It is weird that every song is like a time capsule to a particular moment in your life that you have to keep revisiting over and over.
Yeah. The same is true with podcasts. Much smaller scale, but much lower stakes, but still.
It's true.
Go back and listen to us 3 years ago. Crazy opinions. We didn't
Don't-
like the Eclipse back then, man. It
Don't
was
do
nuts.
that. Don't do that. Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Nugget.